Hello, I'm Nakia Basharuddin and this is Nightline, news making the headlines. Second batch of Malaysians in Wuhan to return Tuesday. And businesses severely affected by COVID-19 to receive direct assistance under economic stimulus package. Malaysia will bring home a second group of its citizens from Wuhan, China next Tuesday following the COVID-19 outbreak in that country. Foreign Minister Datuk Saifuddin Abdullah, however, did not announce the number of Malaysians who would be brought back home through the second group. Speaking to reporters at a special ASEAN-China foreign ministers meeting on COVID-19 in Vientiane, Laos on Thursday, Datuk Saifuddin said there were about 77,000 Malaysians in China. He also gave his assurance that the Malaysian representative offices in China would operate as normal. On February 4th, 107 Malaysians were flown home from Wuhan, China, via a special aircraft through a humanitarian aid mission carried out by the Malaysian government. They were taken to the Higher Education Leadership Academy, Nilai, to undergo a 14-day monitoring before being allowed to return home on February 18th after the quarantine period expired. Businesses that are most severely affected by the COVID-19 outbreak can expect to receive direct assistance under the economic stimulus package to be announced next week. Deputy International Trade and Industry Minister Ong Hian Ming said 3 of the most affected sectors identified by the government are tourism, retail and aviation.
I think the hardest hit businesses can anticipate that there will be more direct help for them. Definitely, like what I say, the 3 sectors, aviation, retail as well as tourism. So for industry, this includes, for example, business events. This is something that we are confident that will be addressed in the stimulus package.
He also said business performances are expected to rebound in the second half of this year and urged industry players to be prepared to attract more visitors from China as well as multinational corporations, given Malaysia's stable and business-friendly environment. He was speaking to reporters after launching the Malaysia International Trade and Exhibition Centre's MITI Smart Trade Zone STZ in the federal capital on Thursday. The STZ allows businesses to converge and harvest new potential leads, especially through its Smart Partners program. In a related development, the tourism industry players have submitted 10 proposals to the government for the stimulus package to counter the economic impact of the COVID-19. Malaysian Association of Tour and Travel Agents, MATTA Secretary General Nigel Wong said the outbreak is an opportunity to encourage greater domestic travel in light of the slowdown in international travel.
We are very encouraged by the meetings held in Putrajaya recently. I believe all the associations, MATTA and MA foremost among them, have already made proposals to the Ministry of Finance, and indications are looking good, positive, and we are hoping for a good stimulus package, primarily for the tourism industry, which is a frontline industry and extremely important for the country, but I believe also for the rest of the country in various aspects.
He was speaking to reporters at a media conference announcing MATTA's first ever domestic travel fair called MATTA Cuti Cuti Malaysia, which will be held on April 4th to 5th at the Kuala Lumpur Convention Centre. Wong added that the domestic travel fair was a smart move, as numerous tourism service providers will be offering travel packages at bargain prices and rates to fill up seats and rooms. The fair is expected to rake in 40 million ringgit in revenue. The COVID-19 situation in Malaysia continues to improve as 2 more patients have recovered. Health Minister Datuk Seri Dr. Zulkifli Ahmad said the patients, a 27-year-old man and a 32-year-old woman who are both Chinese nationals, were discharged from the Sultanah Bahia Hospital in Alusata and the Sultanah Maliha Hospital in Langkawi, respectively. With the new development, the Health Minister said Malaysia has only 5 people who are being treated in local hospitals.
3 di HKL, 1 Sultanah Bahia, Kedah, dan saya lupa yang di Sungai Buloh, ya, Sungai Buloh kes ke-22 adalah seorang warga negara Amerika, ia berumur 83 tahun, masih di Sungai Buloh.
The Health Ministry, in a statement on Thursday, also said cumulatively a total of 17 COVID-19 patients have fully recovered and have been discharged, and no new cases were reported to the National Crisis Preparedness and Response Centre, CPRC, on Thursday. On the 4 Malaysians who were on board the Diamond Princess cruise ship, which had docked in Japan, Datuk Sri Dr. Zulkifli said 3 of them were passengers, while 1 is a crew member. He said 2 of them, who tested positive for COVID-19, are a husband and wife, aged 71 and 66 respectively, and are currently in a stable condition.
2 daripada mereka, pasangan suami isteri, 71 tahun, suaminya 71 tahun, istrinya 66 tahun, telah disahkan positif pada 16 Februari 2020 dan berada dalam keadaan stabil. These were the 2 out of 4 yang found to be positive. Ya. Mereka kini berada di Hospital Fujita di Nagoya untuk menerima lawatan lanjut.
He added that the other Malaysian passenger, a 61-year-old woman, was found to be negative for COVID-19, and she will be allowed to travel back home to Malaysia by the Japanese health authorities upon completion of the 14-day quarantine period. Datuk Sri Dr. Zulkifli said the Malaysian crew member is currently being monitored on board the ship by Japanese health authorities. More than 620 passengers on the Diamond Princess have tested positive since the ship went into lockdown in Yokohama on February 5th. Malaysia will fully implement the biodiesel B20 program in the transportation sector by middle of next year. Deputy Prime Minister Datuk Sri Dr. Wan Azizah Wan Ismail said this will not only provide sustainable support for palm oil demand, but also stabilize its prices. The move was to promote domestic palm oil consumption, with an estimated increase of palm oil usage by 534,000 tonnes per year to around 1.3 million tonnes a year. This will also contribute to the reduction of greenhouse gas emissions by as much as 3.8 million tonnes of CO2 equivalents annually.
Program biodiesel B20 ini adunan 20% biodiesel sawit dengan 80% diesel petroleum di sektor pengangkutan akan dilaksanakan secara berfasa bermula di Langkawi dan wilayah Persekutuan Labuan pada Januari tahun ini. Seterusnya, Sabah dan Sarawak dan fasa terakhir di Semenanjung Malaysia.
The Deputy Prime Minister said this at the unveiling of the National Biodiesel B20 program for the transport sector in Kuala Lumpur on Thursday. Previously, the government had mandated the B10 program, which constitutes of 10% palm biodiesel and 90% petroleum diesel in the transportation sector on February 1st last year, followed by the B7 program, which has 7% palm diesel and 93% petroleum diesel in the industry sector on July 1st of the same year. The B20 biodiesel will be supplied in phases to over 3,400 petrol stations across Malaysia. Consumers also have the choice of using the Euro 5 B7, which is still being sold at certain petrol stations in the country. Urus Harta Jamaah Sindaran Berhad, UJ, defended the rescue plan, which saw it acquiring a mixture of listed equity holdings as a move to rescue Lembaga Tabung Haji, LTH. The assets transferred to UJ consist of a mixture of listed equity holdings, 29 properties, and 1 unlisted asset. In a statement on Thursday, UJ said as a result of the restructuring exercise, LTH had already demonstrated the seeds of recovery by registering a profit of 1.3 billion ringgit for the first 9 months of 2019. For the same period, its total assets have also improved, exceeding its liabilities by 2.3 billion ringgit. UJ also denied rumors that the Ministry of Finance or its minister, Lim Guan Eng, had shut down TH Hotels and laid off its workers. UJ, a wholly owned subsidiary of MOF Incorporated, said the hotel franchise will continue to operate but under a new brand and managed by its sister company, UJ Property Management Sdn Bhd, as part of a restructuring exercise meant to boost its assets. The hotels were among assets worth 9.63 billion ringgit UJ acquired from LTH for 19.9 billion ringgit as part of a rescue package proposed by LTH. The tender for development of 16 dilapidated schools in Sarawak has been postponed to enable the Education Ministry and the Sarawak Public Works Department to review the scope and cost of the project. The 16 schools are part of the 37 earmarked for the Phase 1 redevelopment project of dilapidated schools in Sarawak, involving an allocation of 350 million ringgit, which will be financed by loan repayments from Sarawak to the federal government. Finance Minister Lim Guan Eng, in a statement on Thursday, also said the postponement of tender for these schools was also due to a proposal to close and merge several primary schools and open a new school, but this was not agreed to by the Finance Ministry and Works Ministry. It is feared that the proposed merger would involve the closure of schools near local community settlements because the new school was located further and might cause students to drop out due to the factor of distance and high transport costs. Lim said that for 2020, the Finance Ministry had provided a development allocation of 400 million ringgit for the dilapidated school project in Sarawak, compared to 100 million ringgit in 2019. The government had decided that this allocation should be used for upgrading dilapidated schools, including rebuilding classrooms which could not be repaired. On to Datin Sri Rosmah Manso's corruption trial. A witness testified in the Kuala Lumpur High Court today that his friend had told him that the 5 million ringgit cash, which they had withdrawn from a bank in the city, was meant for RM. Raza Othman, who is the 8th prosecution witness in the trial, said at that time he did not know who his friend was referring to. The 52-year-old, who is the business partner of Japat Holdings Sdn Bhd's managing director, Saidi Abang Samsuddin, said he did not bother to ask too many questions when he was asked to accompany his friend to withdraw the money in December 2016. Raza added that he and Saidi, whom he had known for about 12 years, bought 2 luggage bags before going to the bank to withdraw the money. They then were taken to a room where they counted the 5 million ringgit cash in 100 ringgit notes and placed half of the money in each luggage bag before leaving the bank. The duo then went to the pavilion building where they met 2 men in a meeting room. However, Razak could not confirm whether one of them was Datin Sri Rosmah's personal assistant, Datuk Rizal Manso. Both then transferred the money into an awaiting vehicle before driving back without talking about what had just happened. It was only after 1 or 2 months that Saidi told Razak that the money was meant for RM, and he believed that Saidi was intentionally keeping the matter a secret from him. Datin Sri Rosmah has been charged with receiving 5 million ringgit in kickbacks over a solar hybrid project for 369 rural schools in Sarawak. The wife of ex-Prime Minister Datuk Sri Najib Razak is also facing 2 counts of soliciting 187.5 million ringgit and receiving 1.5 million ringgit over the same project. The trial before Judge Muhammad Zaini Mazlan continues on Monday. Trailer driver charged over death of 4 in crash. This and more home news when we return. Welcome back. A trailer driver was charged at the Sungai Siput Magistrates Court with 4 counts of reckless driving that resulted in the death of 4 and a family last Thursday. However, no plea was recorded from Y. Vetrivel when the charges were read to him before Magistrate Norhab Sarina Ayob. The 26-year-old man from Kedah was charged with driving the trailer in a dangerous manner that resulted in the death of 28-year-old Lance Corporal Muhammad Faiz Bakari, his wife Nik Idayu Nik Hassan, age 30, as well as the couple's 16-month-old baby boy Muhammad Fakir Irshad and Nik Idayu's sister Nik Ifika, age 27. The incident also caused the couple's eldest son Muhammad Faris Iskandar, age 3, to sustain severe injuries. The accused was alleged to have committed the offence at Jalan Ipoh, Kuala Kangsar on February 13th. He was granted 40,000 ringgit bail and one surety by the court. The magistrate also set March 23rd for remention. The offence under the Road Transport Act provides a maximum 10 years jail sentence and a fine of up to 20,000 ringgit upon conviction. In Pahang, a Cameron Highlands school principal was charged in the Kuantan Sessions Court on Thursday with 3 counts of receiving bribes totaling almost 7,000 ringgit. Sahrom Ayumi Yusof, 53, principal of Tanah Rata Primary School, allegedly received the bribes in return for approving food supply tender for the school 2 years ago. Judge Muhammad Ghazali Muhammad Taib allowed him bail of 5,000 ringgit pending mention of the case on April 6. Over in Dungun, Terengganu, an Indonesian labourer was charged in the magistrate's court with the murder of his co-worker last week. Junianto, 29, nodded to indicate he understood the charge when it was read to him before magistrate Hazwani Hussain Bustari. However, no plea was recorded. In Johor, the Muar High Court on Thursday acquitted and discharged a 49-year-old man for the murder of his Singaporean girlfriend 6 years ago. Judge Dato' Halijah Abbas, in acquitting Tan Jian Fah, 49, said the prosecution failed to prove a case beyond reasonable doubt against the accused. With Thursday's ruling, Tan's 18-year-old jail sentence meted by the same court on February 2018 was set aside. We're going for a short break. When we return, mass shooting leaves at least 11 dead. Do stay with us. Now on to the foreign front. China's National Health Commission reported on Thursday at least 114 new deaths from the coronavirus outbreak as of the end of Wednesday, bringing the number of fatalities nationwide to at least 2,118. It was also reported 394 new confirmed cases, significantly lower than the 1,749 cases reported nationwide the previous day, bringing the total to 74,576. Elsewhere, South Korea health authorities have reported the first death from coronavirus in the country. Infections have ballooned in recent days, raising the total to 104, with many traced to a church in the central city of Daegu. On Thursday alone, the country announced 53 new cases. Over in Japan, the health ministry on Thursday reported that 2 elderly cruise ship passengers who were hospitalized with a viral infection have died, while another 13 people on board the ship that was quarantined off the coast of Yokohama have been diagnosed with the new coronavirus. The country's health ministry on Thursday said confirmation of the new cases from 52 additional test results brought the total number of infections diagnosed on board the Diamond Princess so far to 634. Residents in central Ukraine protested the arrival of a plane carrying evacuees from China's Hubei province on Thursday, fearing they could be infected with the coronavirus. This despite authorities insisting there was no danger. Protesters from the village of Novi Sanzari blocked the road leading to a sanatorium where the evacuees are due to be held in quarantine for at least 2 weeks to make sure they were not carrying the virus. German investigators said on Thursday they suspected a xenophobic motive behind shootings at a shisha bar and a cafe that left 11 dead overnight, including the shooter in the city of Hanau. Officials confirmed media reports that text and video material indicating far-right motive was found at the home of the perpetrator, who was identified as a 43-year-old man known as only Tobias R. It was reported that the text contained various but mostly extreme right views with a do-it-yourself ideology cobbled together out of parts found on the internet. The attacks late on Wednesday took place at 2 bars in Hanau, about 20 kilometers from Frankfurt. The first attack occurred at a shisha bar in the Hue-Marked district in central Hanau around 10 p.m., where 6 people died, while the second attack occurred at the Arena Bar and Cafe, where 3 people were shot dead outside the building. Hours later, police found the suspected gunman dead at his home following a huge manhunt in the early hours of Thursday. He was found dead, believed by suicide, along with the body of his mother. There are currently no indications of further perpetrators. Over in India, at least 19 people have been killed in a freak accident in Tamil Nadu's Tirupur after a container slipped off a trailer and rammed into a passenger bus early on Thursday. According to authorities, there were about 48 people in the bus when the incident occurred, and several are in a critical condition. The Volvo bus, owned by the Kerala State Transport Corporation, was traveling from Bangalore city in the neighboring state of Karnataka to Ernakulam in Kerala. The cause of the accident is still being investigated, but it was reported that the container came off its hinges after one of the wheels of the truck had a puncture. The bus was on a highway when the container slipped off the truck, which was in the opposite lane. It then rolled onto the other side, colliding with the bus. The driver of the truck, meanwhile, has reportedly absconded. Before we wrap up this edition of Nightline, let's take a look at what has been installed on the front pages of Malaysia's main newspapers for Friday, February 21st. Both the News Straits Times and Berita Harian focuses on the much-anticipated leadership transition during Pakatan Harapan's Presidential Council meeting scheduled later on Friday. While Malaysia's best-selling Malay daily, Harian Metro, highlights on the inheritance feud following the death of comedian Abang Boche. And the Malaysian Reserve talks to outgoing Pharma Niaga Berhad MD, Datuk Farsila Emran. During the interview, Datuk Farsila spoke on the many challenges faced by herself and the concession holder. Do get your copies today.